Brought to you by ExpressCare Health and Skin Center. Get in, get out, get better.
Welcome back to Healthy Living. The electronic cigarette was introduced more than 7 years ago and has been touted as a healthier alternative to cigarette smoking instead of containing tobacco. E-cigs, or vapes as many people call them, have a mechanism that heats up liquid nicotine, which turns into vapor that smokers inhale and then exhale. But there's differing opinions on whether these e-cigs are really as beneficial as they claim to be, or if they're even safe. Here to tell us more about them, and as well as other vapors, is our favorite doctor, ExpressCare's Dr. Jitka Lom. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you.
So we've seen these everywhere. I've seen people, you know, it'll freak me out. You know, you're sitting in a restaurant and suddenly you see what looks like smoke and you realize somebody has this e-cig. Technically, I guess they're legal inside a building, but are they really safe?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. Hey, Mindy. I guess it's like this. So far, they appear to not be as dangerous as cigarettes. Cigarettes are worse because you're burning plant material, tobacco leaves, as well as other ingredients in there. So you have a lot of particulate matter that can settle in people's lungs and cause, as we know, lung cancer as well as many other lung diseases. And from that, you have secondhand smoke also causing problems for other people. The e-cigarettes create a vapor, which is a water-based steam. It's basically steam with a flavoring in there. It can still irritate people's lungs. It can aggravate people's asthma and allergies, just like a strong perfume might. In addition to the fact that it's just one more delivery system for nicotine. And since it's not regulated right now, the issue here is minors and addiction, again, for young people.
Okay, and so I've seen that some people, they can get nicotine and you can get different levels of nicotine, and then others you can just get some flavor. Is any of this safe? Does anybody really know what these this liquid contains, or how much nicotine you're actually getting?
Right. So these are all really great questions. So when people are vaping or using the e-cigarette, they can choose what to put on in their vapor. They can again choose just a flavor, which is sort of like air freshener kind of a thing, where it's a base of either propylene glycol or vegetable glycerin. And these are, propylene glycol is a type of alcohol preservative that we find in many foods already. We know that it's pretty safe for people to eat propylene glycol. It's in ice cream and sodas and stuff like that. But we're not really sure if it's okay for you to inhale it, especially in large quantities. Plus, none of this is FDA regulated, so these little tubes of the substance, they're like little drops that you put on your e-cigarette. They can be made anywhere with anything. There's very little labeling on them and very little regulations. There is none. So you really don't know what you're inhaling at all. But typically it tends to be propylene glycol and then the vegetable glycerin, along with these various additives, which are generally food additives for flavor. As far as the nicotine aspect, again, you can choose the level of nicotine. You can go from a very high level to a low level. As I did research, it's really difficult to compare an e-cigarette with a real cigarette as far as the amount of nicotine, because it depends a lot on how quickly you're vaping, how quickly you're smoking, all of that, the brands and so on. But in general, you're going to get a little bit of a lower level with the e-cigarette than you do with a real cigarette. You can overdose on an e-cigarette if you sort of chain smoke the nicotine in there. You would start to feel very weak and dizzy and sick to your stomach. So you would probably stop before it went on to any kind of more serious side effect.
Okay, and so I was reading up in the American Lung Association, according to several articles that I read, are really warning about the dangers of this. Yeah. You know, just as much as they're saying that cigarette smoking is not good for you, they're really warning that maybe this isn't as safe as everyone thinks it is, and has actually called it a health hazard.
Yes, and it is banned in some countries, especially certain countries in Europe. Canada has mostly banned it. And so that's because it hasn't been studied properly. You know, when people purchase it, they may be choosing to cut out cigarettes and going towards the e-cigarettes or vaping to sort of get away from the cigarette smoke, sort of developing a different addiction, a different habit rather than the old one they had. It's not a proven method for quitting smoking. It has worked for some people, but it's not a proven method, so it can't be endorsed. And there's some movement towards having them be prescription only or something like that, but really there's a lot of work to be done before we can say that these are safe. And the problem is that the flavors are geared towards young people, you know, bubble gum, candy cane flavors, stuff like that, so kids get excited about it. And we're finding that younger and younger children are trying these out. In middle school, I think nationwide, something like 7% of kids have tried it.
Wow.
And that's just the, you know, the tip of the iceberg, because if they get into that, they may also be trying nicotine with that, which of course will develop an addiction for them.
Okay, well, we will pick up our discussion on vaping